găsit, doamnelor, bun găsit, domnilor! Astăzi, la ediție limitată, ne reîntâlnim cu unul dintre cei mai dragi invitați din istoria contemporană a Festivalului Internațional George Enescu și totodată cu unul dintre interlocutorii mei preferați din toată activitatea mea de intervievator. Pianistul francez, naturalizat american, Yves Thibaudet. Yves, here you are again in Bucharest within the Enescu Festival, and your presence here is a link to the previous edition 2 years ago when everything seemed and was different, and is now a time that we cherish even more. In the meantime, the whole world changed. How this period changed you?
Well, it was a difficult time for sure. And it was unexpected, especially the length of it. I mean, it started with okay, it'll be a month, 2 months, and 3 months, and then it was more and more, and ended up being almost a year and a half without concerts. I mean, for 1 year completely, there was absolutely no concerts. I was in Los Angeles at home there, and you couldn't travel anywhere. There was no concerts, no audience anywhere. It was a really weird feeling for an artist. Especially, I'm so used to travel all the time. I'm going somewhere else, and going on a plane, going in a hotel, playing concerts, dinners everywhere, and suddenly the world just stopped. It was really a very hard. I mean, it was a shock. I think it was a shock for my body and my brain. So, well, I had a lot of time to reflect on lots of things. I had time to practice, to learn new things, to just rest, which is very important. Sometimes I think it was a good thing maybe for my body to have this kind of resting period after so many years of crazy touring all around the world. But you do miss, of course, the concert, the concertizing, and the contact with the audience. I mean, this is what makes us alive. Because you can play at home on your piano, but it's not the same. What we need is to have the audience and play for the audience. So that was really, really, really hard. And I remember my first concert after about exactly 1 year. It was in the States, in Florida. And it was unbelievable, the joy and the emotion to arrive on stage. Even it was not a full house, they had to distantiate, yes, people, of course. Even the orchestra was distancing, but it was an amazing feeling to hear live music again, to play with other musicians, and then to have the audience, to feel the audience. It was an incredible feeling. And I have to say then we realize how much we miss it and what a privilege it is. We just take so many things for granted in life. I think that's a real lesson. They just seem normal. You do this, you do that, and then suddenly you can't do it anymore. Then you really miss them.
Now, you've mentioned about playing without an audience, and that happened quite a lot in the last months for many musicians. Mm-hmm. How does this loneliness on stage change your approach to music? I mean, having no audience around.
Well, I had a very interesting experience, for example, last year in August 2020. I performed a concert at the Hollywood Bowl in Los Angeles with the Los Angeles Philharmonic and Gustavo Dudamel, and we were playing in front of an empty Hollywood Bowl. Hollywood Bowl is 20,000, 22,000 people in the audience outside, and I played there so many times for the last 25, 30 years, every year. And to arrive on stage at 6:30 p.m., the sun was just setting down, and it was just empty. It was so weird. It was like a nostalgic thing. You felt you were like in a movie. It was just not normal. But yet, we played the concert. We knew, I think what makes it work is that you know that there are people on the other side of the screen. You know, there's like thousands of people that are watching you. They're not there physically, but they are watching you at home. And so we just think of them. We just feel that they are there. But it's a very different feeling. Yeah, it's very strange. It's not normal for us to play without an audience.
This time you came to Bucharest with the acrobatic Ravel piano concerto. Now this is a brief piece, but so intense, so full of zest and of life. I was wondering, since Ravel is one of your specialties for many, many decades already, how does this concert function in relationship to your inner self? What does make you discover new about yourself?
Well, you know, it's a piece that I play since I think I was 11 years old the first time I played it. It was the first concerto I ever performed. And I've been playing it over and over hundreds of times. And still, every time I play it, I discover it and I enjoy it and I just love it. It's still fresh because it's a masterpiece. It's an incredible piece. There's not one note that is in the wrong place. There's nothing to change. It's just perfection. I mean, Ravel was such a perfectionist. So this piece is very close to my heart, and I always practice. I always discover new things, even on the score. Sometimes I look at the score, and I've seen that score for so many years, and I look at something and say, "Oh, that's interesting. I never thought of that, or I've never seen that," and it's extremely exciting. And that one, I will never ever get bored. Also, every time is a different conductor, different orchestra, and it's always an inspiration. I mean, last night was Santa Cecilia and Maestro Daniele Gatti, and we actually had a rehearsal just before the concert, and it was a long rehearsal because he was telling me things, very interesting things, and we did some new things last night. We tried new things, and you could see, I'm sure the audience could see, we actually had so much fun. We were smiling at each other, and it's a piece that has a lot. The first and the last movements are very influenced by jazz.
Mm-hmm. Indeed.
Ravel visited the USA in 28 and 29, and he met even with Gershwin, and he heard jazz and he heard blues, and he was incredibly inspired by that. It was a great inspiration for him, and that it does come out in the rhythm, in the harmonies. So it's a very kind of dancing and joyful piece. And then the slow movement in the middle is one of the most beautiful pages really written for the piano. That introduction at the beginning is just stunning. I can never get tired of that. Every time I start it, it's just magic. It's like time just stops. You feel you're floating in space. It is just hypnotizing almost. It is so beautiful. And then the orchestra comes in, and it's a very smooth, it's a very soothing experience. And I think last night was, I remember actually every time I've performed here, I remember 2 years ago with Midori, that recital in the Athenaeum, mm-hmm. There was that same incredible magic. I think there's also a silence. The audience here is unbelievable. We were actually discussing after the concert at dinner with the maestro and friends from the orchestra how the audience was incredible here and how silent they were. We're not used to have such an incredibly silent audience, and they really are. And then so warm, and so, I mean, there's a real tradition, and you feel that, and so it gives us a special inspiration.
Not many people know that your family, your father, knew Enescu and also played with Enescu here in Bucharest.
Yeah, it was amazing. My father was here during the Second World War for many years, and I think it was on Wednesday. I think on every Wednesday they were meeting up with Enescu, and my father was a very amateur violinist. He was nothing professional, but he was playing with him. Enescu was playing the piano for him, and my father was playing the violin, playing his violin, his Stradivarius, and he said it was playing by itself. It was so beautiful. And we have lots of pictures and notes and signatures and all memories that my father kept from him. So it really is a special connection for sure.
So that means also your childhood is directly related and linked to Bucharest, to Romania.
Absolutely.
You have spent holidays here.
Yes, a lot of holidays. We used to come every summer here for like 2 months. We would drive from Lyon. It was a long drive. We would stop 2 or 3 times on the way in Italy, in Yugoslavia in those days. And then we'd arrive here. We would start, we had friends everywhere. My father had so many friends. We would start in Timișoara, stop there with some friends. Then we would go to, I remember always stopping in a monastery in Râmnicu Vâlcea. That was beautiful.
Torezu, probably.
I forgot the name of it.
With the pottery, the famous pottery.
It was a beautiful monastery, and we would stay there for a few days. And then Bucharest would stay a week at least. He had so many friends here. And then we would go to the Black Sea, to Mangalia, and then we would stay there for a month. So it was really, and I used to speak Romanian when I was a kid with my sister. We used to speak fluently Romanian, I mean really completely fluently. And it's a shame that I just don't have any chance. But when I'm here, I mean, I remember last night I went to have some wonderful Romanian food.
Yes.
And I remember on the menu I was looking at, I remember every single thing was there. I knew exactly what it was. It was so funny. So it comes back.
And actually, your pronunciation of these dishes is absolutely perfect.
Oh, wow.
It's perfect. You know, sarmale, you
Sarmale,
know, mititei,
mititei,
papanaș.
papanaș. Oh, that was so good.
Yeah.
But I haven't been to Romania, believe it or not, for 27 years. And I don't know, it just didn't happen. And this is the first time after so many years. So it's very emotional and I'm very touched and I was very much looking forward.
Istoria lui Jean-Yves cu România începe încă din fragedă copilărie ca fiu al unui diplomat francez prieten cu George Enescu și adesea partener de imprompturi muzicale domestice al acestuia. În 2009, Jean-Yves Thibaudet vine și concertează pentru prima dată pe scena Festivalului Internațional George Enescu, la acel moment consacrat deja drept unul dintre cei mai importanți muzicieni contemporani, multiplu premiat cu Grammy. And talking about this particular magic that you have established last night, that continued with your encore, with Ravel's Pavane pour un enfant défunte. And I have to tell you, it's the first time I've seen the great palace hall, all lightened in blue, and that was just you and the keyboard and this silence. I mean, for me, this is one of the peaks of this edition of the festival, and one memory that I will cherish for a very long time, because I think it epitomizes this whole period that we've been passing through.
I completely agree. It is a piece that is also timeless. It's a piece that it's about, you know, defunct, I mean dead, the death, but it is beyond, I think it's beyond all of that. It's a piece that is very spiritual, it's very, and it's very funny because Ravel didn't like the piece. He composed it very early, I think it was 1895, and he never liked that piece. He didn't want it to be played, he didn't like it. And yes, it's one of the pieces that we all love so much. It's so special. He composed it for the piano first, and then for the orchestra. It is very beautiful, the orchestra, of course, because Ravel was a genius at orchestrating, but I personally have a very soft spot for the piano version, because it's more simple, it's extremely simple. That simplicity that you find in the second movement of the concerto, that is just so emotional. With just a few notes, it goes right through your soul. And like you said, I think it really was, it's a good, after all what we went through, it really is something that gives a very special feeling. And it's not sad, that's the thing, it's not sad, but it's just a nostalgia, yes, melancholy about time that are gone.
I was thinking last night, watching you in the Ravel piano concerto, that all pianists need a physical preparation almost equal to one of an athlete. Because if we think about Ravel's piano for the left hand, well, that is really, really challenging. Which is your routine prior to the concert in order to get into physical shape?
Well, I mean, just before the concert, I warm up. I really do warm up for maybe, I don't know, an hour, half an hour, 20 minutes, half an hour, just to warm up your fingers. It's like an athlete, exactly as you said, I agree completely. You couldn't run a marathon or do anything suddenly, just going and suddenly running. I mean, it would be hurting your legs probably, and same thing with the hands, you have to warm them up. But other than that, during the year, I mean, every day I practice. You need to practice every day to keep that technical agility. And I also do a lot of sports. I mean, not sport. I mean, gym. You know, training. All just to keep fit. Your body needs to be fit. You're right. It is. Sometimes it's true. It's quite an exercise.
Are there also certain pieces of music that soothe the muscles, that also they act like a therapy for the fingers, for the hands?
Well, I mean, this all kind of thing. We have exercises. Of course, a slow piece is not going to hurt or is not going to do the same challenge than a fast piece. Now, you were mentioning the left-hand concerto, and that's a really very dangerous, in a way, piece.
That's a marathon.
You can really hurt your left hand. You have to be very, very careful. I always tell my students if I teach that concerto, I said, be careful. Don't practice too much. Don't go. I mean, because your left arm is not meant to play all by itself all the time. Have all the weight there, and it's 20 minutes of really craziness. So when I play that piece in particular, I need about 2 weeks, I would say, to prepare it. Not because I don't know the piece, just to prepare the strength in my left hand. And if every day I play more and more. So the first time I look at it, maybe I'll do half an hour, 45 minutes. Then the next day, an hour. Then you kind of you have to build up that muscle strength that you use more than when you have both hands, because everything is on the left side. And you kind of switch also all the power to the left side, like on your left foot, you kind of really shift everything on the left side. It's a really strange feeling, but once you do it, you're in there, you just do it. And it's natural, but it is you have to be careful with it.
When you're in the studio recording, there is no audience in front of you. What does replace that energy coming from the audience?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. And actually, I try to make it in my head almost like a concert. I don't like, there's lots of ways to do recordings. And I know a lot of artists, for example, love to do recording bits by bits, and they slice everything, and they put little, and I cannot do that. I have to make big takes. I like to play the entire piece or one movement. And then, of course, we can do corrections, but at least we have one big take, which is almost like a performance. I cannot work just in little bits. So I try to recreate in my head somehow a concert format. I know there's no audience, so it's very difficult, but you can kind of create it. I mean, for me, it has to still be kind of a performance. I cannot just play and say, okay, let's do it again, or let's stop, or let's do it again. Then I think it doesn't have the same energy, doesn't have, it's difficult, obviously. That's why sometimes I like to have concerts that are recorded live. That, for me, is the absolute best solution.
In our previous interviews, we have never talked about what would you have done had it not been the music or the piano?
There's a lot of things. I went through a lot of different periods in my life. I think when I was a kid, when I was growing up, at some point, I wanted to be a veterinarian because I love animals.
Okay.
But that was just for a short period. And I still love animals. But I realized that I would not have been, I don't like to see blood and do anything of that. I mean, I don't think I would have been at all a good doctor in any kind. I just wanted to do for the animals. After that, for a long time, and I almost till now, as a musician, is almost a form of it, but I wanted to be a diplomat because I think diplomats are wonderful, wonderful people. It's a wonderful way to work for the world, for
you had a
relations.
nice example in your family.
Yes, absolutely. And I think it's important for the relations between countries, between people, between culture. And I feel as a musician, we are some kind of ambassadors for our music and for culture. And culture is one of the most important thing in the world. People sometimes don't realize, but culture is the essence of so many things. And so that's probably what I also wanted. I also wanted to be a race car driver. I mean, a pilot, because I love cars, I love speed. I don't know what else. That's about it. But I mean, piano is really what I wanted to be. I mean, I said when I was a kid, I said, I want to be a pianist. I didn't know if I would succeed, but that was really my dream. So I'm very privileged that I can do what I was always dreaming is actually my life.
De la Ravel și Liszt la coloana sonoră a filmelor Pride and Prejudice sau Atonement, muzica lui Yves Thibaudet a cucerit melomanii de pe toate meridianele planetei. Și pentru noi este o bucurie de fiecare dată să-l descoperim ca pianist dăruit, dar și ca interlocutor inteligent, rafinat și adesea cu mult umor. Well, as you have mentioned last night, you're here with Accademia Nazionale di Santa Cecilia, Maestro Daniele Gatti. I was wondering, after you finish your part, can you become a member of the audience and enjoy the rest of the concert, or the adrenaline still runs very high? Usually I always go in the hall and listen to the second half. But you see, as I just said, you were in the second half, yes.
The problem last night is that I was in the second
exactly.
half. So once you play, you cannot just, I needed to change, and I had no time to, so I could only hear from backstage. And I do love La Mer. I mean, it's one of my favorite pieces. I would have loved to hear it, but I couldn't be there. But otherwise, you would always see me very, very often in the second half, sitting in the audience, because I like to enjoy the music too. It's exciting for me.
Your most recent album is called Carte Blanche. It's been released a few days ago,
Yes.
actually. It marks a new phase of your career, a new website. Congratulations for the
Thank
pictures,
you.
by the
Thank
way.
you
They
very
look
much.
amazing. I was thinking about this duality of the word carte and pairing it with a certain ace that you certainly must have up your sleeve. Which would one be?
Well, it's a very special album, I have to say. Waves an Ace is definitely the ace of hearts, because it's an album about, I think, love of music, love of life, love of everything. The beauty is that it's called Carte Blanche because Decca, the recording company, gave me carte blanche. They said, for this album, you can record whatever you want. Yeah, and that was amazing. It's rare. I mean, we always speak together, and they want certain thing, and I want certain thing, and we always do things. But this was like having a chef at your disposal, and he can cook every meal that you like the most in your life. So I had lots of fun doing that. And actually, the pandemic was a good time to prepare it, and that's exactly what happened. I prepared it for the entire almost pandemic just at home. We recorded it in May in Los Angeles, so it's very recently, the recording. It came out very quickly after that. But it's really some pieces that I played all my life, some pieces that are brand new that I learned during the pandemic, but I always wanted to play, always dreamed of learning, but I didn't have time. Some pieces that are tribute to people that were important in my life, to my teacher, Aldo Ciccolini, to other pianists that I admire. I mean, this all kind of very special pieces, some challenges that I give to myself. It opens also, I think it's an incredible variety. It shows people so many different aspects. And I'm a very curious person. I always like to play different things. It's got some jazz, it's got some boogie woogies, and it starts with Pride and Prejudice, which is a soundtrack, obviously, of that beautiful movie, which was a very important soundtrack and part of my life. It really opened lots of doors because it attracted lots of people outside of the classical music that were able to listen to that soundtrack. So I really thought it was important. It's actually starting the album. Playing for movies, as you said, soundtracks, that's it's great fun for me.
Yes.
I live in Los Angeles now for many years. So it is part of my life there, and I'm always looking for the right project, and I have some more coming up, and it's always exciting. What I like about doing that, beside it's lots of fun doing it, it's a different experience, I also like the fact that through those soundtracks, we are able to reach so many more people than just a classical concert. You reach millions of people immediately, and it's fantastic because those people then come to your concert and listen to your music. And I think this is what we need. We need to really open the doors of classical music as much as we can, especially to the younger people. We still have to work very hard on that. I think it's better. I think it is getting better. But I think the movies really help for that. Now in the social medias, and I mean, times have changed so much, so we have to take advantage of that.
Would it be fair to say that it is the most accurate musical portrait of yourself?
I think it's a very personal, absolutely, the most personal, also most intimate for sure. It really is, yeah, I think it, because I really chose every piece, so it's everything I like. It's my own choice.
A few days ago, we also had your birthday. Happy birthday.
Thank you very much.
It's a new decade.
Yes, right.
Age is just a number.
Yes, exactly, completely. Age and number, you're right. I have a beautiful old lady in the States, a wonderful, wonderful lady, very distinguished, very elegant lady. And she told me years ago, she said, age is a number and mine is unlisted.
Great.
And I thought that was very cute. So I agree with her. It's only a number, yes. It's all in your heart and in your brain.
For someone as young at heart and also so 21st century oriented as you are, how come you are not more present on social media?
Well, I mean, I am and I'm not. I know I could be more. I have mixed feelings about social media. There's one part of it that I find absolutely fascinating, and I think it's an incredible age, and what we are able to do now is really something that we didn't have in the past and that can help in so many ways. And I do admire that. But like everything in life, it's got a double side to the coin. And this one other side that I don't like so much. I just feel, it's not that I'm a very private person, it's not that, but I just feel sometimes it's invading a little bit your space and you just don't feel like you cannot just do anything. I don't know, it's very difficult to explain it, but at the same time I love to reach out to my audience and my friends, and that's the part I like. And we speak very often with my PR office in New York about it, and I think I might develop it a little bit more. But I'm also a very control person. I like to control things, and I feel that with social media it just gets out of control.
Yes,
I don't have the grip anymore on the control, and this is what almost scares me. I'm like, I'm not sure. Mm-hmm. So we try to find a balance, but I understand that it's more and more important, and I think I have to make some progresses with myself, and we'll see. Maybe next time when I come.
Terms to yourself.
Yes, next time I come, maybe I'll have more presence.
Okay. Now you gave me this wonderful saying about age. I will give you another one about music, and actually it is from Limitată.
Oh.
And he said, "Serve the music, not serve yourself through the music." There is a thin line between these two dimensions. How do you do not to cross this line?
Well, I think it has to do with your personality. I think it's an integrity. I remember my teacher, Aldo Ciccolini, always told me the first thing when you learn a new piece, then the first thing as a musician is the respect of the text. He said you have first to learn the piece exactly, see everything that is written on the score, and you have to respect it. That's the least you can do for the composer. After that, of course, there's still plenty of room for the interpretation, but the respect of the text is everything. And I think it's the same thing with music in general. I think we have to respect music. It's an incredible art. It's an incredible form. And it's not about you. I think you're there, you're given a talent, and you have a mission with that talent to develop it and to share it with people. And that's why we do when we have concerts. And to give them happiness, to give them a moment of joy and of dream and magic. And I think I always say the most incredible compliment for me after a concert is when somebody comes to me and says, I'm going through a very difficult time in my life right now, whatever it is, they lost somebody very dear or they're very sick, and they say, for 2 hours, you made me forget about everything. So we have that incredible power of being able to take people somewhere else, somewhere better, for that little amount of time. And I think that is really powerful. So we are behind that. I mean, we come definitely second. When you see the power of that, I think it's a lesson. You cannot. I mean, so what Mr. Limitată said is beautiful. I couldn't agree more.
You are an Epicurean, I would say, that grasps with both hands what the life has best to offer. What are you most grateful for?
I think for that, I think I'm most grateful that I have this personality that is happy, that has this joie de vivre, as you said, and I always see, I think to be just positive. I see so many people, it just takes you down. Whenever they say something, they always find the wrong part of it or the bad part of it. I'm completely the opposite. I always like to find the good part, the happy part, look for something good. I know it's not always like this in life, it's true. But at least you have to try. Otherwise, you're miserable all your life. And I think if we are on earth, is to be happy. I mean, that's what we're here for. So I think you really have to try yourself to help yourself to be happy. And so I think this has been given. I don't know, I think I was born with it. I think also my parents, I think I had wonderful, wonderful parents and family. And I think this is probably one, because if you have that, I think it helps you go through life so much better. It's a real big privilege.
Jean-Yves, in our most recent interview 2 years ago, I have told you that for me there is a certain French syntax that characterizes your entire artistic persona, which is la joie de vivre. Now, many of us during these last years have lost or seem to have lost this joie de vivre. Teach us how to gain it back.
I don't know. Again, I think it's something that some people, some people, it's always the story about the glass that is half full or half empty. Some people, unfortunately, just always see the glass half empty, and I always see it half full. I think you're just born with that. I think it's just your personality, your character, and I was very lucky to be like that. I think the only thing to do is always look at the bright side of the world and of life. There's always something good, even in people. Even you meet people, always try to find, even with bad people, there's always something good about them. It's impossible. It doesn't exist to be just, I don't think it exists to be just bad. So that's the way I am. And the pandemic was a very difficult time to go through, of course. But I think we can all just the fact that we're still alive, that those people that didn't die from that horrible disease, there's so many things that we can thank ourselves for, just to be alive, to be healthy, and in our case, musicians, to be able to do what we love the most, to be able to perform, and to be able to gain again now kind of a normal life. And we're not there yet, but we're on the right direction, and I hope it will be behind us soon. But I think it's always important in life to just look at the bright side and not at the dark side.
Always a privilege talking to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Doamnelor, domnilor, ediția limitată de astăzi se închide aici. Sunt Marius Constantinescu. Trăiți nelimitat!